Hi, everybody. This is Beverly Buncher from the Balm Programs, and I want to welcome you to our on-demand 5 tips program. We did one live last night. Today we have a recording of how focusing on yourself can really help you contribute to your loved one's recovery. You might not think that that's relevant, but it really is. It's not enough, but it is relevant. So let's look at what that means and how we can do that together. First of all, in the Balm, we say that an attitudinal shift is critical to being able to help a loved one and help oneself. The first thing is what we're focusing on this week, that the family has a crucial role to play in a loved one's recovery. And there are certain things that are very important. Today, we'll focus on the 5 tips for playing your role and playing it well. There are other things, but these are critical. The second part of the attitudinal shift is understanding how change happens. The third is a willingness to let go of control and knowing what to replace it with. And finally, understanding that you are indeed your loved one's best chance, but only if you do things in a certain way, only if you are being in a certain way. So this attitudinal shift can really help you understand that there's much more to family recovery than just loving your loved one and wanting to help. That's a good start, though. So our focus this week is, of course, you have a role to play and the stakes are high. So play your role and make a positive difference in your loved one's life. And here again are the 5 tips to walking the loving path. Drop expectations, focus on self, use leverage, set boundaries, get support. Yesterday, we looked at dropping expectations, and here's a little review to jog your memory. You know, when you have expectations, if your loved one isn't in recovery, you have these dreams of how things could have been if only they'd been in recovery. And families often come in really hopeless, as if these things can't still happen. If your loved one's still alive, they can still happen. So we don't know if they will. And so it's not helpful to have an expectation that things will go a certain way. So we invite you to let go of the dreams of what specifically will happen. And also let go of the fears of what terrible things could happen. And then once they're in treatment, you may have all these thoughts about now that they're in recovery, everything's going to be so wonderful. Let that go. And also let go of the fears of what if they lose their recovery. Let them go. Drop all the expectations. So dropping expectations is just allowing yourself to be open to the fact that any of these things could happen, the good, the bad, the ugly. And it's not our job to have a laundry list of what must happen. That is not a helpful way to play our role. So that's yesterday's lesson. Review it if you haven't seen it yet. Today's focus is to change your focus from your loved one to yourself. And it's called Focus on Yourself, which is also known as self-care. And we really believe that self-care is your path to inner freedom. It's a way to bring joy and well-being back into your life before your loved one commits to recovery, and a shift in focus from your loved one to yourself once they're in, before they're in general. So you may ask, why should I stop focusing on my loved one? They need my focus. We're not talking about not being there for them, not at all. We're talking about shifting from an obsessive focus on making things happen for them and an obsessive focus on how that should look. It's important to let that go. For one thing, when you have You know that guy with the scissor hands, the claws in X-Men? And imagine yourself with those claws and you're at your loved one's shoulders, and the claws are in. Imagine if somebody had their claws in your shoulder. How would you feel? Would you be able to focus on your life, or would you be spending all your time trying to get those claws out? When we obsessively focus on our loved ones' lives, they don't have any energy to focus on it themselves. I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm just asking you to play your role effectively. And you can't do that when your focus is obsessive. And you're going to learn how to let that go over time. The second reason that the shift is important is that when you have solid self-care, it provides you with the inner clarity to know which rope to throw to yourself, to your loved one, to your family, when real help is needed. When you're all upset all the time, it's hard to make good, clear decisions. There's a saying, our loved one is addicted to the drug or the activity, and we are addicted to them. Self-care plays a big role in helping us pull out the addictive nature of the relationship and create a healthier relationship. And of course, there are all kinds of self-care, and we focus on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And you can see them up here. I'm not going to read the whole list, but exercise, having your annual physicals, healthy nutrition, getting enough sleep. Those are the physical ones. Mental health care includes having an attitude of gratitude, being able to focus fully on what you're doing. And when those obsessive thoughts come, being able to bring yourself back. Living in the moment. Being part of a community. And educating yourself well so that you really understand what's happening. So you're not in a fog about the nature of this challenge that your loved one has. You'll notice that conscious breathing exercises are in physical self-care, mental self-care, and emotional self-care. They're also in spiritual self-care, though you may not see them on the list. The breath is a very powerful, powerful tool. We are usually not even aware of our breathing, but in the Balm, we learn how to use our breathing to lower the temperature within so that we can be there powerfully for our loved ones and for ourselves and increase our health on all levels. We work on emotional self-care, not taking things personally, detaching from obsession, having a great life. I love that Al-Anon saying, live and let live. That's part of emotional self-care. Having healthy relationships and fun and happiness, self-love, assertiveness, and accepting life on life's terms. These are all parts of self-care. Self-care isn't just brushing your teeth every night. It's much more than that, although it includes that. And then, of course, spiritual self-care means different things to different people. You may be someone who prays. You may meditate. You may enjoy fellowship or quiet time, music, nature, journaling. What is it that helps you to nourish your inner wisdom? That within you, which goes beyond ego and is there for you. Self-care. Yours is critical. And you may say, how on earth can I focus on my self-care when I have this kid or this husband or this wife who is involved in this use disorder or this other ailment. So we take you back to the 7 C's, which was our last series a few months ago. You didn't cause your loved one's use disorder. You can't control it, and you cannot cure it. Those are very important points. They're from Al-Anon. They're not everything. You know, you can contribute to their recovery. And when you practice good self-care, you have greater clarity to do that. And the 5th C is you're connected to your loved one on a level deeper than their use disorder. And when you practice good self-care, you know that. You go deeper than the surface upset. In the Balm, we say you can learn to communicate. Self-care can help you have the peace of mind to be able to learn the communication skills you need to have to make a difference. And finally, we say you are always a choice. And we want to make good choices. It all starts with taking care of ourselves. That's the initial good choice. You know, the Balm is a 2-prong approach. Get your life back. Help your loved one get theirs back. So it's not, you don't do all of this so you can help them. You do all of it to have a great life and so you can help them. We believe both are important. And I kind of bet you do too if you're here. But what about if self-care isn't enough to help your loved one? Okay, let's face it. Most likely it isn't. Your self-care is critical, but it's not enough. Remember that 2-prong approach. Help yourself, help your loved one. But it does help you as you move into the next phase of the loving path. So come back tomorrow to learn how to negotiate your loved one into treatment or aftercare by using leverage. That's tip number 3. Remember, you can decide to be the peace you wish to see in your world. And we can help you do that. Now is the time to get strong. So this series of webinars is here to invite you to consider changing your family tree. Come to these intro sessions, learn all you can, read the book Balm, The Loving Path to Family Recovery, and consider how the loving path could help you and your family. And to learn more about Balm, visit balmfamilyrecovery.com. And we hope you'll be here tomorrow to learn about how to use leverage to help your loved one move forward in their recovery and play your role well. Thanks, everybody. And remember, be a loving mirror. Bye.